The lame duck giving his swan song. President Biden set to bid farewell to the nation tonight at 8 p.m., well past his bedtime. And it's to a public that tuned out his presidency a long time ago. The big guy's leaving town with just a 36% approval rating. And this morning, he gave himself props and a goodbye letter, claiming that the country's stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. He also said that it was the, quote, privilege of my life to serve this nation. Good thing he's checking his privilege before he leaves. Today was also the last day for the notorious KJP, who turned on the waterworks for her final briefing.
And finally, I do want to say thank you to President Biden and First Lady Dr. Biden for this incredible opportunity. As I said earlier, standing at this podium behind this lectern, serving the American people and this administration has been an honor of a lifetime. And I will be forever grateful to the president for his trust and this amazing opportunity.
All right. Meanwhile, the guy who turned Biden brown-nosing and into an Olympic event, Joe Scarborough, says, F you. He was justified in defending Joe's broken brain.
Was he slower physically? Yes. Did he occasionally jumble a few words or a few names? Yes. But he corrected those as well. So after 2.5, 3 hours of it with him in the White House, going all over the White House, I did not see that.
Maybe, but I mean, foreign leaders and foreign governments told me very different things to what you've just said.
Did he occasionally jumble some words? No, he occasionally got his sentence right. You got it reversed. You know, Jesse, I consider you an expert in ego. And it seems to me that Scarborough's problem isn't Joe Biden or Donald Trump. It's that he keeps getting things wrong because his ego prevents him from reevaluating his position when it's obvious it's incorrect. And as you've shown many, many times, over and over again, to a fault even, there's no shame in admitting you're wrong and adapting, especially when your party's a mess. You don't sit on the highway in a broken down car for weeks because it's your car. You got to get out of the car and start walking.
Are you referencing the red wave, Greg? Because I'm getting some red wave vibes. Again, I was talking about the polling, okay?
No, that's one of many of your mistakes.
I admitted I was wrong. With the Eagles winning the Super Bowl every year that I predict?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a certain person to admit when they're wrong. It takes a healthy ego. It takes a little, you talked about Trump being a humble Moses.
Yes.
It takes a little humility from Moses. Even Moses can admit when he's wrong. Scarborough can't do it. He's too vested in the 4 years of coverage that he delivered. And Joe Biden can't even admit he was wrong. In the face of such contradictory evidence, he was telling us the border was secure. He was telling us Afghanistan was a great success. He's now leaving with his party completely shut out of power, no money for a presidential library, no goodwill with the party or the media. He's probably going to be looked at as a failed presidency. He's going to be looked at as the guy that was kind of washed into office through COVID, and he turned out to be a fluke. Mm-hmm. He was just unworthy of the job. And the 4 years were a scandal. This presidency was a cover-up, and we're only just beginning to crack the surface of it. He started the inflation with his energy and spending policies, and then he just was callous in the face of all the pain. He broke our sovereignty with the border policy, almost treasonous. No deterrence with Russia or Hamas. The disgraceful Afghanistan debacle brought great shame onto this country. He prosecuted his political rival. That's never been done in the history of this country. His whole family was running a corrupt enterprise, and he lied about it. He tried to cover it up, and then he pardoned his son. So if you're looking at the Biden farewell tonight, he's not going to be able to say anything that's going to convince the American people that he did a good job.
You know, Harold, in the green room, you asked me not to bring up Joe Scarborough because he's so embarrassing and pathetic. So let's move on to this farewell. Shouldn't it be delivered by the people actually running the country, not Joe?
Good to see you. And good to be with you, Judge. Happy New Year. We hadn't seen each other yet. Every president gives a farewell address. We'll say she one day, but he has
hopefully
given
not,
these,
but anyway.
He's given these addresses over the many years when they leave office. This one is a a unique one in that it's a one term, and the president was not on the ballot for re-election. I'm a believer, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I will gladly say it, but I think that history and time will treat Joe Biden better. I think two mistakes that he made, which he likely won't talk about this evening, one's the border, and two, not realizing that he was a transitional figure and should not have probably sought re-election after doing what everybody wanted him to do in 2020, or many people wanted him to do. I won't speak for everybody around the table. But I think when people look back and look at the investments in American creativity and ingenuity and productivity, I think people will look more fondly on him and look at the investments in infrastructure, more wealth, more therapeutics, more cures for the country. Not everybody shared in the wealth advancement, but there'll be things that people look to. There's no doubt. You mentioned one of them, Greg, about that, maybe Jesse did, about the Afghanistan withdrawal. There's certain things that every president, any president, will look back on and say, I was not proud of those things. But I look forward to this speech tonight. I hope he's optimistic. He has reason to be on a day like today. I thought his great line today about, we'll talk about it later, but speaking in one voice, he and President Trump deserves credit. President Biden deserves credit for this agreement, and the Israelis and the Palestinians are going to have to see it through. But I'm looking forward to tonight. This is a tradition that American presidents all enjoy, and I'm ready for the next president as well.
Judge, can he just go?
Okay.
It's like he checked out a year ago, 2 years ago.
Look, the American people said goodbye to Joe Biden a long time ago. I can't wait for this to be over. When, and I have to respect the president, the office, but at the same time, what Joe Biden brought us was so harmful to America and to all of the institutions that he impacted. I mean, the use of the intelligence agencies to have an answer at a debate so that he could say to Donald Trump, no, that laptop of my son, which was used as People's Exhibit, the United States Exhibit #1, and the Hunter Biden prosecution was in fact Russian information when it wasn't. The disappointment that I, as a prosecutor and a judge, feel for a guy who weaponized and lied about the fact that people within his White House were coordinating with prosecutors all around the country to make sure that his opponent, not just a prior president, but his opponent, would be indicted and convicted. I remember Joe Biden and his Soul of America speech, that dark speech, with the Marines standing with the weapons behind him. I remember him calling us racist. I remember him going to the United Nations when he was first here saying, please tell us, United Nations, how racist America is. So there's a lot to talk about with this man. The hate that he engendered, that he created, the fact that we were MAGA extremists when all we wanted was our constitutional rights back, free, protected, free speech, the ability to talk on social media, and the hate that came out of him was something that I won't forget. And I don't think history is going to look kindly upon him.
Yeah, Dana, I'm old enough to remember when Reagan came after Carter. And everybody knew that Carter was bad, but he wasn't divisive. There seems to...
there was universal agreement.
Yeah, but I mean, the judge is pointing out to something that he will be remembered for pitting Americans against each other for a long time.
Well, there's that. And the story of the presidency basically is it got hijacked by younger, louder, more extreme voices, and Joe Biden let that happen. And he said he would be a bridge. And then when he looked on the other side of the bridge, he didn't like what he saw, so he burned the bridge, and he put the Republicans in a great position. That's the legacy. And what I think about tonight, imagine if this speech had been given 2 years ago, in January of 2022, or 3 years ago, January 2022, or 23, after the midterms. And he did what he said he was going to do, is be a transitional president, and either said, I endorse Kamala Harris, or I think there should be a full primary. And where might the Democrats be today? Now, the damage had already been done, a lot of it, and she would have had to, or they would have had to figure out a way to deal with inflation and all the other things. But I looked at this today. This is Gallup. Progress report in 18 areas during President Biden's 4 years in office. Everything is a negative except for one thing. Everything is a negative. Even climate change, I said, was negative by -4. Immigration, -51. Economy, -33. The only positive rating he got for net progress was situation for gay, lesbian, transgender people by 16 points. That's the only one out of all of this. Yes, he didn't know when to leave.
Yeah.
He should have been more like Barry Sanders.
Right.
Dana.
Well done. Well done.
I've been saving that all day.
Yeah.
I don't even really know who he is, but apparently he was this great guy, played for the Detroit Lions, and then he left on a high note and then never talked again.
Well done.
Greatest running back ever.
Really?
Oh.
I think
All
so.
right.
There you have
Well, I'm
it.
going to leave on a high note.
Yeah.
Or possibly a high chair. The Trump-affected work. Israel and Hamas reach a ceasefire deal on the hostages.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.